Yeah. Um, that's exactly what I wanted the first time around. Scream 6 is the newest Scream movie, and I'm so excited because, as you know, if you've watched my channel, I've reviewed Scream 2022. I am a huge Scream fan. The original Scream is my favorite horror movie of all time. It was my gateway to horror. I was not into horror until I was about 13 years old. And then I came across Scream on Netflix, and I watched it, and I was absolutely blown away, and I've loved that film ever since. And that was the first film that really got me into horror to where I'm a horror fan now. I actually have enjoyed Scream 2022 even less than when I reviewed it. I was initially really positive in my review for Scream 2022 because a lot of my negatives stem from spoilers. However, I didn't really love that movie. There are a lot of beats in it that I think go against the characters, and I don't enjoy how certain legacy characters are brought back and handled. There's elements in Scream 2022 that didn't really work for me, and that I think showed potential, and I think Scream 6 brings that potential and shows it off way better. That Scream 6 is more of what I wanted from Scream 2022. It is the definite improvement and a step up, in my opinion, to that movie. And I think it's just a genuine blast at the cinema. I had so much fun at the movie theater watching this. I was at the edge of my seat a lot of the time. It brings back the tension that I love about Scream. The tension that I love from Scream is at full force in this movie. Ghostface is back. He is absolutely insane. The kills are gnarly. They're really gory at times, and they get really down nitty-gritty. But not only is it just great kills, the tension in this movie is great. It's fantastic. There are so many sequences, genuinely crafted out, thought out sequences of tension in this movie that are more than just quick scenes. I'm really excited and happy, and so I want to start with what I liked about it, just kind of start from the outside, work my way in. Let's go with the characters first. Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega are back as the Carpenter sisters, and they're both fantastic in this film. I love Sam Carpenter a lot more in this movie than I did in the last film. I still really enjoyed them in 2022, but I think this is the movie where both of them, as not only performers from Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera, but as the characters in the writing, step up and genuinely become the characters that I love for this new franchise. And I love their sisterly bond. I'm a sucker for a sibling relationship in a movie. This is where I think this franchise is really gonna sell for me from here on out. I love these two. I think they're really nice dynamic, and I enjoy the fact that we actually get more than just one main character this time around in this series. I enjoy the fact that they're more of a duo. It's a main duo, not just one main character, and I think that really works to the movie's benefit. The way it's able to juggle both of these two and their dynamic and the trauma they're working through from the last movie, I think is great. And it also it gives me something more to latch on to with this one. This movie wouldn't have the drama that it has from the two characters if not for the last movie. I give Scream 2022 a lot of credit for setting up the drama that is then fulfilled on in this movie and built upon that I really enjoyed, and I think steps up from the last movie. I really enjoyed seeing these two trying to get over what happened to them in the last film, and I like that this film spends a lot of time on that, and it got me to really care about them, and I loved the tension between the two, and it was a very viable and believable reason for them to be at times at odds with each other, and I enjoyed exploring that in this movie, and it made for some really nice character beats that gave me an emotional center to latch onto. That goes for really all the characters in this movie. The core four, they're great, they're really fun characters, and this is the time where they all got the shine. The fact that Sydney's not in this movie, I think, works to its benefit, and I'm really happy she wasn't. And I just think overall, I'm glad we're finally moving on. We have new characters, new settings. No need to just harp on nostalgia, or at least when you do it cleverly like this movie does. I never thought the film was beating it over my head until a certain point. There is some moments where I do, admittedly, it feels like, okay, you're genuinely just retreading some territory. And I'm like, I get you're calling yourself out on it, but you're still doing it. And sometimes I do think the movie's aware of that, and sometimes I think it kind of isn't. Now let's talk to the nitty gritty. Biggest reason we come to see this movie. Ghostface. Ghostface in this movie, oh my god. I really loved how they amped up the tension and the build up of it. It's not about the kill, it's about the hunt, and this movie really spends a lot of time on the hunt, and it's really terrifying at times. Moments with the phone calls, the phone call conversations, they're pretty intense. There are also moments where I just didn't expect Ghostface to appear, and then he does. He always showed up at just the right time. When a moment or the movie would want to slow down, Ghostface appears and keeps that pacing right back up and keeps the energy up. The characters are always on the move in this one, and I think it works to his benefit. Ghostface is like a hurricane, and he's just coming after these characters in this one, and it's relentless. Really amped up the tension, especially in the closed setting of New York City. The use of that with the apartment complexes and just the use of the building layout in New York as a whole is used really cleverly in this film at times that build to really great kills and really great moments of tension. There are genuine moments where I did not want characters to get hurt, and I was scared for them, and it was just from not only great moments of tension, but great character building from that. I do think it's not with everyone. There are a few characters in this movie. It's like I felt the impact, but it's more how it affected our main, three. Sam, Tara, and Mindy are my favorite characters in this, and they're the main three that I just, in my head, they're the characters I want to keep following with each movie. They're at the forefront, and anything that happened to them, that was when I was in. That's when I was feeling the tension. That's when I was feeling scared for them, and I genuinely just wanted them to make it out. I really appreciated how this film knew also to play with our expectations. Scream 6 is really smart with subverting expectations while playing with them. The movie does a really good job at certain points of playing with what you think is going to happen, and you're like, oh, what? I don't know. And I like it because it actually did keep me on my toes. In terms of just doing a job at making me have genuinely no idea who the killer is, spoiler-free review, of course, I think this is the best Scream sequel since 2 that kept me guessing on who the killer might be. While I didn't love the twist, I did love the build-up to it. I can't deny for those first 2 acts, man, I was there and I was locked in. That experience felt like a genuine return to form of Scream for me. My disappointment with certain moments of the third act are eclipsed by the characters. I genuinely cared about Sam and Tara's sisterly bond in this film. I thought it was at the forefront and it was the heart of the movie, and that was able to eclipse my disappointment with what happens with the third act and certain reveals that go on. Ultimately, I landed more positive on this movie than I did negative. My negatives are a bit more spoilerish, so I'm not going to really get into it. I'll simply say this: I could see why, keep it vague as possible and respectful, I'll say it like this. If you are someone who was loving this movie up until the third act and then you think it just completely drops the ball, I couldn't argue with you because I actually see where you're coming from. I can definitely see anyone being just totally turned off by the third act of this movie, even though they love the first 2 acts. However, for me personally, like I said, I just think the character beats overall and the character growth that happens with our main leads satisfied me enough to keep me engaged and having a blast with this film. Overall, Scream 6 is a genuine love letter to the Scream fans. It is a great sequel, I think, to Scream 2022, but not only that, it's just a really good entry in this franchise. I think, I've only seen it once, I want to see it again and see if certain beats work better for me, because I genuinely think Scream 6 is that movie in this franchise that will get better over time, as time goes on. For the longest time, for example, Scream 2, I didn't always love Scream 2. I do now, but the first time I watched it, it was like I loved Scream 1, and then none of the sequels really worked for me. But over time, I grew a genuine love for Scream 2, and there's moments in that movie now that really stick with me, and I genuinely think that is a perfect sequel to Scream. And I think Scream 6 may go down that similar path, where over time, it'll get better and better. I think this movie's gonna age like fine wine, because for me personally, the tension was there, the atmosphere was there, the kills were there, the horror was there, the Scream elements of Ghostface were there. I felt genuinely pleased as a fan of this movie, even with certain reveals not working for me. Positives definitely outweigh the negatives. I had a genuine blast with Scream 6. I thought it was a lot of fun. Best way I can talk about it, spoiler free. I actually think this is one of those movies I want to make a spoiler review on. I want to talk about the spoilers of this film. So I want to try to get John over here so we can talk about it together. I actually think he may have liked this movie a lot less than me. He was kind of quiet out of the theater where I was like, all excited, so can't wait to hear his thoughts on it. We're going to talk about that together, hopefully. Did you like it? What worked for you? What didn't? Would love to hear your thoughts. Comment below what you thought. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and thank you so much for watching Scatterbrain Reviews. I'll see you next time.